Hello, hello. We are here. Yes. Let's let those notifications go out. But we're going to talk about it today because the Lord put it on my spirit. And I said, it really is true because the more aware we become, how God says to be vigilant and aware always, right? Because the devil, our adversary, the devil, is always roaming about, right? Seeking whom he can devour. So the level of awareness that we need about ourselves, inside and then out, and then about the narcissist, the evil, as we do the self-reflecting and we realize, especially for those of us who are in together for combating radio frequency for healthier living, we start to realize that a lot of things that we experience throughout our lives was simply due to excess salt and radio frequency exposure. And it takes a while to process, but it's all part of purging that subconscious because life improves for those of us who become more aware. I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA's Let's Just Chat show, streaming on the YouTube channel Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center while combating radio frequency for healthier living. For those who may be new to this channel, I am, yes, not just your host for the Let's Just Chat show, but I am Michelle Dickey, a master consultant, coach, trauma specialist, minister, and author, helping trauma survivors from narcissist abuse overcome trauma triggers, life obstacles, unpack that bag of talents and gifts on the inside from God, yes, and more. At Consulting for Heightened Awareness, CHA. CHA is a growing community of spiritual warriors for Christ. So if you've been looking for a community that knows all about this game of narcissism on the world stage, aka Matrix, that's right, and you want to heal and grow, you've come to the right place at the right time. As always, Galatians 4 verse 2, everything is always at God's appointed time. Glory be to God. And so this message will be just another one of heightened awareness, like how heightened awareness changes our lives and for the better, because we're no longer walking around out there with blinders on. We're no longer walking around with a limited viewpoint. We're no longer walking around with limitations. We learn to get those limitations off of God. And we understand that all the lies, all the lies that we've been told throughout our lives, and y'all remember the biggest one, right? Y'all remember one of the biggest lies that we have to unlearn when we get into God's reality and He wakes us up to narcissism and narcissists, the real evil that we're up against in the spiritual battle for the mind. And you realize that, the Matrix lied to us about who the bad guy really is. And so, chosen ones, we always had that sense of spiritual, right? Yeah, we always had a sense of it, but we couldn't articulate it, right? We didn't know yet what it was. We didn't know that we were experiencing the presence of Christ when we were a child, and then, into our young adolescent years. And then it's almost like, poof, He took off. And here we go, trying to figure out, where do we fit in, right? Do we fit in with this crowd? We try to fit in with this crowd. We try to make friends with the popular kids. I know I did. Of course, that backfired. And then, they thought they were popular. See, we learned later in life, y'all, that popular is just an illusion. Popularity is just an illusion. That's all for the dog and pony show on the world stage, right? Yeah, trending, popularity. God doesn't care about none of that. No, He sure does not. And let me go ahead real quick. I'm going to go ahead and pull the comments up over here so I don't miss when y'all chime in. And don't hesitate to share your own experiences with the heightened awareness, because it does take a while. It sure does. It takes a while to process these things. I'm going to give y'all an example here in just a moment, because it had to do with combating radio frequency for healthier living as part of the awareness. Yeah, okay, there we go. And what we want to do is understand that it's very important for our overall health, because we know now, with that heightened awareness, we know now that the devil, yeah, and his flying monkey narcissist, because the billion-dollar industry out there, right, that I always had an issue with. Now we know why. I'm not the only one. Chosen one, listen, those of you who also had an issue with, yeah, that part of the matrix with all of its prescriptions and stuff, yeah, never sat right with me. We didn't know anything else at the time, but yeah, I always had issues, going to get something looked at and then walk away with like 4 different prescriptions when you only need one. That caught my attention. I was like, what's with that? Now we know. Okay, because of course, the more pills you take, the less food you'll eat. The less food you eat, the less nutrients you'll get. It's a no-brainer right there. But things change. Our level of awareness changes. And the great thing behind that is not just because they're God revelation, but because we learn to stop telling ourselves negative things about ourselves. So here's the example I want to give you all. Okay? I want to let y'all know that the place that I went to get a new upper partial, but the other one, the old one, broke. Of course, they make them so they break. We know this too. Part of that awareness, right? Yeah. And they operate under the belief that if we're not wearing a partial, whatever, that somehow that's going to make us feel insecure. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Not at all. Because the way that they designed it, I thought it was kind of strange. Because the roof of my mouth, right? Y'all know how it's pretty curved, right? The roof of our mouth. It's curved upward. Now, the old partial I had, right, it went all the way across and then upward just a little bit. But that was for stability on both sides. That's all it was. And I remember them asking me at this other new place when I got here, I remember them asking me if I liked that. And I was like, yeah, I said, don't bother me. Well, they overdid it. When they put the arch there, they put it all the way. I didn't think much of it. I was like, well, I'll get used to it. And I did. I am. But I learned something recently as to why it was designed that way. Remember, we are not wrestling against flesh and blood. We're wrestling against the spiritual wickedness in high places. And see, the devil knew I was not going to have a television. He knew I was not going to be exposed any longer to a bunch of narcissists who would try to electrocute me, right? Now, we're not going to talk about this studio apartment and its fire drills. No, whatever. That's a whole different thing. We figured out a way around that resistance, okay, y'all? But we also are very aware of the air conditioner. We're very aware of where the frequencies are coming from, what they're designed to do. So with that heightened awareness, what the devil tried to do or what they rigged these little apartments up to be, it's not going to have the negative intended effect because we're aware of it. So we know how to get around that resistance. So anyway, the devil knew all that because I had told the Jezebel that gave birth to me that when I get my own place, I'm not going to have a television. She was like, you're not? I'm like, no. Anywho, that was before I knew what I now know. But with that partial being designed that way, it didn't dawn on me until shortly after getting in this new unit here from the old one, that the one thing that we did when we got into the older unit, first thing we did when we moved in was we had that in and we were wearing it pretty regularly, not thinking much of it. I didn't realize that I was in a very, very, very deep, I guess you could say, I don't want to say extreme, but it was close to a fever-induced state. Now, I was aware of it, but I didn't know that's what it was. I didn't know my ANS had gotten numbed again yet. It didn't take long, though, for me to realize, hold on a second, because I was getting settled in, and so my body was starting to relax a little bit. It was to swell, because salt holds water, right? So a lot of what I had to lose was water weight. It wasn't necessarily because I was not eating outside my portion. Now, I might have been eating a little off the diet a bit too much, but it was more salt water weight that I had to lose. And we did 15 pounds right away. Boom. Okay. Within just a couple months or so, it gone. And so we were like, okay, finally. And we started to notice some things. And I went for a time without wearing it. I don't recall why, but then I get in here after all that is said and done, and I'm like, why am I experiencing something? It's like feeling like I just moved into the other unit again. In some ways, not to the full extent, because our body's internal heat has come way down since we have been. Well, no, they got to shape the partial plate so it will stay in place. Yes, it has metal hooks for that as well. But stay with me here, what God revealed to me, because radio frequency it messes with your taste buds. So when you are detoxing and you are reducing your salt intake, your taste buds are going to fluctuate. That is a natural part of the process. I believe I've told y'all that, for those who haven't heard it yet. It's on the Patreon channel. We talk a lot more about that. And the Patreon channel has digital product to help y'all through the detoxing and beyond as part of our combat against radio frequency. I'm giving you all this example because it's how heightened awareness changes our lives for the better. Because what that did for me was it made me realize something, that the way that they designed it, with whoever had the spiritual wickedness in high places, designed it in such a way, knowing their demon spirit knew that I wasn't going to be exposed or overexposed to enough frequency for a longer period of time to keep my ANS numbed. Right, because the devil needs our ANS to stay numbed, right? So that we act on impulse, so we can't think clearly, so that our body's internal heat keeps rising. So basically we get cooked from the inside out, right? We're being microwaved. So, right, because he targets our health. He doesn't want people to be healthy because, well, that doesn't serve the matrix now, does it? No. See, chosen ones, when we get this heightened awareness, we're not even of this world. Remember, Jesus says he's not of this world and we are not of this world. So go figure. We are out of this world spiritually. So knowing that, I'm sitting here one evening and I've got it in, and I don't consume. You know how many of us who have gotten to this part during our combat against radio frequency, we are in the managing season of our sodium intake, which pretty much is ongoing. We're always going to manage it, but it'll become less onerous, if you will. It'll become second nature going forward. It gets easier. But for right now, I'm paying attention, like many of you may still be. Those of you who are not out of the low sodium season yet, hang tight, because you will when you get to the medium one. That's why we have the medium guide available on the Patreon channel now too. All right, digital products to help you. But because God will, you're going to reduce, and then he's going to have you put some back in. Because remember, we do need electrolytes, right? Okay, and then we get to where we've got to manage our sodium intake. And that's where I'm at as well. So in doing so, I'm starting to be able to taste when certain foods that I get have more salt in it than, yeah, it's like, whoa, okay. Now, I realize something, though. When I'm wearing the partial, that first bite, okay, is salty. All right, wow. And then the second bite, not so much. And then the third bite, not at all. It's like almost as if, okay, I just get that initial punch, but then I'm no longer tasting the salt in it. So I'll continue to eat it, which is fine. Little did I realize that salt was getting trapped in the roof of my mouth. The way they designed that partial was to trap as much salt up there. And what that was doing, because I was trying to figure out, I was like, man, why does it feel as though my jaw is tensing up all of a sudden? Like I could tell that's awareness about ourselves and what's happening biologically when we have the time to pay attention and we're not being distracted. Remember, we put that on Instagram, so good job for y'all to put that in the comments, that you will not be distracted. This is another example of that as well, that we're not being distracted by anything out here when God reveals. Hold on a second. And he told me, he said, take the partial out. I said, okay. He said, get that out of your mouth. As soon as I did, it was like flood of salt. I went, wow. And I was just, okay. I didn't realize that it was being trapped up there. And because of that, it was leading to excessive salt buildup in my head area, which led to the tensing up again of my jaw. And I thought, okay, I shouldn't be anywhere near that. I should be totally past that. And I am. But it was the fact that what I was eating had that salt in it, the excess salt, and it was getting trapped in the roof of my mouth, which was getting into my circulation. And I said, oh my goodness. So ever since then, I got myself a Philly cheesesteak, if you will, pizza. And I said, okay, so I have just a couple of pieces. For me, that's enough. Just two slices and I'm full. Small, of course. I got a medium. I ain't getting no large. I was like, get a little medium. And I was like, okay. And I could taste the salt in that thing. And I said, wow, that is a lot of salt. Okay. Okay, all right then. And then for breakfast this morning, because I have some left over, I was like, all right, that's quick and easy. And I had a few cups of coffee. I hadn't eaten anything yet. And I have learned that this is for y'all too, as part of the combat. When you first get up, if you're feeling a sensation in the tummy area shortly after getting up, and it's kind of like, it's not burning, but you would think that, oh, I must be hungry. No. Do yourself a favor and do not eat right away. And the reason I say that is because your body's trying to process excess salt from the day before. I've learned this over the last 3 days. That's exactly what I've been doing. Kind of like a fasting in a way, but making sure that I'm not eating anything within the first 2 to 3 hours of being awake, because that's normal for me. Because I didn't realize until because I found this out. All I have is a little Fig Newton, right? Fig Newton bar, okay? To take an herb with, okay? I had an herbal supplement one morning, and I wasn't even up for maybe an hour. And I thought, okay, you know what? I was feeling that. And so I ate the Fig Newton and I took the supplement. And I was like, wait a minute. I recognize that discomfort there. What's going on? And I realized that apparently, I didn't know yet that my body was trying to process, after sleeping, the mucus that drains. What's inside the mucus? Salt. Body's trying to process that excess salt, right? It's got to get into the stomach to get out, right? It's got to go somewhere. It's got to get into the intestines so that your body can get rid of it if you're not sweating and getting rid of it. Sweating is really, that, or urinating, what have you, okay? It's got to get out. So the heightened awareness about that made me go, oh, so I'm no longer telling myself that I'm getting a bellyache or, oh, I don't feel good or something like that, right? We're no longer telling ourselves that because of the awareness about, hold up a second. It takes 72 hours for our bodies to fully digest some things, depending on what it is, right? Well, okay, as we are detoxing still, and I am a little bit, as we're managing our intake, and I'm like, hold on, I recognize that. And it had a little bit of a burning sensation that used to trick me into thinking I had GERD, which God revealed to me and said, no, you don't. There ain't nothing wrong with us, chosen one. It's what we unlearn. that heightened awareness. And so I was like, okay, hold on a minute. And sure enough, it's like God reveals, like, yeah, I said, you just took in the salt that mingling now with salt that was that had drained into the belly area through the night. So when you got up, it was right, that churning. So we got tricked into thinking that that was hunger, and it's not. You got to give yourself a little time. And I'm like, oh, I said, drink your coffee. Okay. And so for the last 3 days, that's what I've been doing. It's like not eating anything for at least the first 3 hours, just letting my body process, okay, to get rid of the excess salt that was draining from the night before through the night. I said, okay. Because see, when you chew and you feel that saliva, you want to swallow that saliva because your saliva contains digestive enzymes. Right? So don't ignore that awareness. Be aware of it. You can tell the difference between the mucus and the saliva. Huge difference. So with that being said, this morning, I'm going to eat a piece of my leftover pizza for brunch, if you will. Again, it's been a few hours since I've been up. And I said, okay, so I will take one of my herbal supplements, which I did, which I know it's not that causes any kind of discomfort. But and then I tasted that salt. I went, wow, there really is a lot of salt in that pizza. Whew. But that's all right, because I got confirmation that that's exactly what was going on. With all of a sudden, I started to feel a little bit of that discomfort. And I said, my whole life, that's what it's been. It has nothing to do with the food. It has nothing to do with anything else except the salt. The salt that's on the inside of the body already, and then the excess salt that's in the food. Now, mind you, does that mean that your body will not get the nutrients from the food? No. It will still get what it needs from the food because it will process that excess salt at some point. Your body is designed by God to separate things to get the nutrient that it needs. So my coffee drinking is first thing in the morning. Okay, and if I do have another cup mid-afternoon, what have you, that's fine. But in the evening, no, I don't. If I'm going to have anything in the evening, it will be green tea. And I know that I'm not going to be drinking coffee every day. It's just a season right now. God's revealing some things to me to bring to you all as part of the heightened awareness. So that's how it changed my life, because after I realized that my whole life, so I'm processing this, my whole life, every single time I would experience that, I would get tricked into thinking I couldn't eat that food because of it, or I couldn't do this because of it, or that I was feeling this way because of it, because I'm going to tell you, as soon as I realized that, and I was like, oh yeah, we don't tell ourselves, we know what it is, it's the salt. And so said, just, drink me some water. So we washed it down, drink us some water. We were done eating, like, we don't need no more of that. And it wasn't a half hour later, it was gone. My body adjusted because we didn't tell ourselves anything negative, you see? That's how heightened awareness changes our life for the better, so that we're not vomiting, so we're not doing any more of that, because a constant occurrence of that going on can lead to that excessive vomiting. And I'm going to tell y'all something, your stomach muscle, if you are doing a constant thing of vomiting, that can lead to a bleeding ulcer. And that's what happened to me while I was in undergrad. Okay, because the ex-psycho roommate was using radio frequency poisoning on me. I didn't know it at the time. Very minor, until I got to the house, at the vacation house or whatever, until I became the live-in maid. Then he ramped it up the more aware I was becoming. But while in undergrad, it was just with the television. The television. So I didn't know that. But I had to have that thing cauterized. And because the devil has no new tricks, and everything that I have been experiencing since I closed that Jezebel case study has been real familiar. It's part of that heightened awareness. Like, I've already been through all this. I've already experienced that. And I've experienced that. Okay, so this is why I chose the one with that heightened awareness. We know ourselves, we know our body. So I was like, I've already been through all this. And so I knew, I said, hold on a minute, because if I was still wearing that partial plate and not knowing that all that salt was getting trapped there, right, if I wasn't aware of it, that at some point, the over acidification from the salt, remember, salt is highly acidic. So when it's in excess, that's a lot of acid that can get trapped in that stomach, which can eat away at the stomach lining. So yes, the devil was trying to recause that kind of incident once again. But you see how God stepped in and says, never again. Not my chosen one. You see that heightened awareness. And so we know that's what he's trying to do, because I said, okay, wait a minute, everything's too familiar. This is like deja vu. Going from that unit to this one, I'm like, okay, hold on a second. I'm excited. Whoa. No, we're not backtracking. We know that, but the devil wants us to think that we're relapsing or something. I was like, no, we're not relapsing. We're just getting more aware. We're becoming more aware. And so it's like, okay, so now I can actually taste the excess salt in certain foods. Doesn't mean that I'm just gonna, avoid. No. It's just I will limit managing my intake a little bit better with that particular food. Let's say I go and I get a buffet dish to go and I bring it home and I'm like, oh, okay, hold on, just a little bit of that here, a little bit of that, and then we'll like mix and match with my own. That's exactly what I did. I made my own beef pot roast, my own, no added salt. Okay, I used a little bit of Worcestershire to marinate it. That was it. But I did not add salt. The beef broth that I used had no salt added. You see where I'm going with this? All right. So I did that. I made my own beef pot roast. I went to, it was a Golden Corral, and I wanted some mashed potatoes and gravy and some other vegetables. So I went and I got a vegetable to-go plate. Brought it back to go with my pot roast. Balanced that out with the salt that's already in their foods. So that's how we do it. It's all that heightened awareness, so we know how to manage things better. So I wanted to share that example with you all to help you stop telling yourself that you feel bad if you eat something and you experience a little bit of discomfort. It's the salt, not the food. It's the salt, not the food. It's the salt, not the food. Get that in there. It's the salt, not the food. Put it away. Get you some water. Get an apple. Get a piece of fruit, something alkaline. Okay? Prune juice. Grapes, okay, purple grapes, something alkaline if you must. If it's that uncomfortable, then get something alkaline. All right, like I said, prune juice, leafy greens, baby spinach, raw. Okay, get something alkaline in there to balance it out. But do not tell yourself that you're coming down with something. Do not tell yourself you can't eat that food. Just make note of, okay, that's got a lot of salt in it. And within 30 minutes, as long as you get focused on something else and just know, okay, hold up, let's hold off on that, hold off on that, right? It's the salt, not the food. It's the salt that's in the food that was causing that discomfort, because your body will still get the nutrients that it needs. So the heightened awareness is all about increasing in nutrition, and that's another way we do it right there, is becoming aware of the fact that the foods we're eating may contain a little bit too much salt, but it's not the end of the world. It's like, okay, so if we experience that discomfort for a brief moment, just know this too shall pass, but be mindful what you tell yourself. We stop telling ourselves, oh, we feel bad. No. That's that pain and suffering that the devil wants to see. And we're not going to give it to him, because we now know what the tricks are. So if we get a hold of something, like I did with that pizza, nothing wrong with that pizza. Am I going to throw the rest of it out? No. I just know that, okay, if I'm going to have one, we know what to expect. And we'll be like, all right, let's monitor it. A bite here, a bite there, and then let the body process it, get to move and circulate it. Okay, let the body do what it's got to do, but it will get the minerals and vitamins from the wheat that's in there, from the dairy. It's going to get what it needs, because it will separate. All right. So Chris is sharing his experience of heightened awareness in his late teens. Nervous system became switched on and developed. There you go. Developing the nerves and extremities in your hands and toes and skin. It stimulates the brain in a connected positive cycle, giving heightened feeling, sensation, awareness with your skin and nerve and brain acting like a biological antenna. That's a great way to put it. I like that. And we answered the coffee drinking in the very beginning. So, yeah, okay, that's awesome. That's awesome to have that kind of awareness that young in life. The only thing we weren't aware of yet were the narcissists. We knew something was off, but we didn't know yet, right? And so you became aware of the emotion being held in organ and negative emotion being released from the internal organ to bring peace. Well, that's only if we internalize the negative stuff. So let me be clear on that, okay? If we did it, because sometimes some of the things we did growing up, we didn't know that yet. But yeah, we're able to release them from those internal organs to bring our, yeah, and bring about that peace, the internal peace from God that's on the inside of us. And so, right, for that to happen, but we did not, and glory be to God, we did not internalize all of those negative emotions, which is what the evildoers, the narcissists, want us to do. They want us to internalize all those negative emotions. And so that's why anytime we might have experienced a discomfort, we didn't know anything else at the time except that discomfort. So we would tell ourselves, because that's what the world, if we told one of the narcissists, man, that didn't sit well with me for some reason. And they would say, well, you better not eat that again, right? And then, of course, we're going to believe it because we don't know anything else yet. Now we know better. We don't tell ourselves that we can't eat that tomato just because. No. Right? It's, yeah, because it's an RF symptom. Radio frequency symptoms are blamed on food. So we stop telling ourselves that we can't eat a certain food just because we experience a slight discomfort. It's the excess salt that's in the food, not the food itself. So, yeah, and yeah, limit the coffee intake as a treat. Well, let me go ahead and tell you something else. There's another heightened awareness about coffee. You're about to find out, okay? I've got it ready for the academy. We're going to work on that and get it to you all, but just know that coffee, okay, coffee is not acidic, okay? No. Purge that from your subconscious. Coffee is not acidic. It can't be. Think of a coffee bean. It's alkaline. That's right. It's alkaline. You heard me. It's alkaline. It's not acidic. The only reason any coffee would give any kind of discomfort is because of the salt that's already inside your body. It's just trying to balance out. Yeah, it's not. It's not the coffee. But you do want to, you don't want to drink too much of it. That's true. Because you don't want to, right, God tells us, we don't want to do anything in excess. That's why we learn to break bad habits. That's another part of heightened awareness. How heightened awareness changes our lives for the better, because then we become intentional with wanting to break bad habits. We start becoming aware of, hey, you know what? We don't need to be doing this anymore. We don't need whatever it was we used to do to cope with trauma anymore. We don't need this. We don't need that, right? Oh, there you go. We become more dependent on God than ever because He's the only one that we need to be dependent on. And so, okay, if you're experiencing GERD symptoms, it's not GERD. No, analyze your salt intake. Because I will tell you that when I used to listen, there were times when I had my AirPods in, right? I take my hearing aids out because I can hear without them. I put my AirPods in. And there were times when I was in the previous environment with excess radio frequency in the environment, there were times that I had those in and I felt a burning sensation. I felt like I was having an acid reflux moment because it was the radio frequency. As soon as I took them out and put them back in the case, it went away. You got to remember that the radio frequencies around us, if we've got enough salt already on the inside, for it to heat up. And so it's going to heat it up and it's going to cause those kinds of symptoms. Plus, got to think about it. Did we overeat? Oh, that could do it too. Did we overeat? Because if we've got too much salt, salt holds water. And so a lot of time we'll get that like waterlogged feeling. And that can also appear as though it's a GERD symptom. But that's an RF symptom. It's not GERD. I can tell you that. Remember, a lot of this stuff out here in the matrix, them telling us with our biological body, all made up. Because every bit of it's related to salt. And yes, even though we've detoxed and we are managing our salt intake, it is possible to still get a hold of a little bit too much. And it'll do that. And so we have to become aware of that. And so I'm glad it's not bad, but if you're noticing those symptoms that are there, that's when it's time to stop and reflect. Go, hold on a minute. What am I eating? How often are you eating? And again, it's easy to get comfortable too and forget about our portion, right? And stay disciplined. I know it. When we have an inner child that we are parenting, I know it's tough because inner child sometimes, even though chosen one, our ANF knows when enough is enough, but sometimes, okay, because it is our inner child. One more bite. How about no? Like when we know we've had enough. So we kind of have to do that. But I want you to just do a little bit of a reassessment there. Don't tell yourself that that's what you're getting, because remember, a heightened awareness all about what we tell ourselves. How our lives improve is by stop telling ourselves that we have stuff that doesn't exist. We have got to do that, chosen one. Stop telling ourselves that we have something that doesn't exist. Purge that subconscious. Jesus cleans everything. You got to trust and believe that. If you're having a hard time believing that Jesus cleans everything, it's time to do some serious sit down with God and work that salvation out. And I mean right now. So, and no, coffee, listen, I'm a cream and natural, regular cane sugar. Okay? Coffee drinker. I prefer some creamer and a little bit of sugar. Well, we all wish we had narcissist awareness when we were younger. Oh my gosh. However, we don't have any regret. We got to think about the lessons. That's all part of the awareness. Okay, that's all part of the awareness, becoming aware of ourselves, because it is so crucial. Jesus even tells us in Mark 9, verse 23, all we got to do is believe. This is why a lot of sleepers out here in the matrix, if you try to tell them that whatever thing they think they have is made up, if you try to tell them that's fake, it's an illusion made up by the matrix, if you try to tell them that, it's going to induce confusion for them because it goes against their long-held old belief system. This is why I'm saying, chosen ones, when we get in God's reality and spiritual awakening, we got to purge the subconscious. We got to lose the old belief system. We have to lose the old ways of thinking. We got to stop using terminology associated with health, period, that the matrix made up. We got to stop using that terminology. Get it out of that subconscious mind. And use that discernment, because yes, there are some things like anemia. Okay, that is a real thing. B12 or iron deficiency can lead to that, sure. So you got to know the difference. You got to understand, but still be mindful what you tell yourself. And being aware, being heightened aware to not allow or let anything negative, and that's a negative. You would tell yourself that, because when you tell yourself that you have something wrong with you, that's negative. That's what the devil wants. He wants you to think there's something wrong with you. So that you'll go out there and you'll buy some over-the-counter, whatever, poison, if you will, that's only going to prolong the radio frequency symptoms. It ain't going to cure crap. Remember, if that matrix wanted to cure anything, now it's not going to. It's not looking to cure a daggone thing, because if the Matrix wanted to or were going to cure anything, it would put itself out of business. Let that sink in. Heightened awareness right there. It would put itself out of business. It ain't going to do that. No, it's just going to keep tricking people into believing they got something wrong with them. Because as long as you tell yourself that, what a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So how heightened awareness changes our lives is that right there. And the righteous are bold as a lion. I'm going to tell y'all. Now, why did you have to lock your car 4 times in a row? I think once would have been enough, don't you? Okay. Anyhow. Of course, the alarm could be programmed like that. I don't know. But anyway, the Matrix and its excessiveness, we become more aware of it as well. And so we don't allow it to affect us by being aware of it. And so we don't let it trick us into thinking that we need this. Now, if you are on an herbal remedy of sorts, remember, herbal supplements, yeah, they're fine. They're all natural. But that should only be for a season as well. That should only be for a season. And so, yes, being disciplined in well-doing. Oh, yes. You must be. Yes, watch those food portions and the salt. Always. If you are starting to experience RF symptoms, that's when you got to step back and go, wait a minute. How much did that? What did I just eat? How much did I just eat? Because again, like I said, we're still human. I got to do the same thing. Y'all are not alone. So I'm glad, thank you. I'm glad, fellow warriors, that you do not have a problem with the fact that you understand and you know that Jesus cleans everything. And a simple reminder of that can go a long way too. If you feel yourself experiencing something of a discomfort of sorts after eating, you have to remember that's a big one right there. We have to overcome all of it. When we learn that radio frequency symptoms are blamed on food, because remember that the enemy does not want people to get the nutrients that they need, right? He doesn't want people to be healthy, because the healthier we are, yeah, we're of no use. We're not going to become human lab rats for the Matrix. And that's what the Matrix wants. The devil wants human lab rats. So that the greedy Matrix can continue raking in the dough for stuff that doesn't exist. Come on now. Heightened awareness. And I know that the devil don't want people knowing that, but it's too bad. I see it on TikTok. We're not the only ones that know. We're not the only ones that know all about this stuff. The weather manipulation, and then the food being tampered with to an extent. Now, mind you, y'all got to remember something about narcissists. This is all part of the heightened awareness. Something about narcissists in the game of narcissism. One thing we come to understand is that narcissists are rarely, if ever, doing what they claim to be doing. So if you hear a narcissist come out and say that they're going to do this or that to your food, well, yeah, don't put a whole lot of stock into that, okay? I'm paraphrasing, that's an analogy. But if you read stories about certain, certain public figures who have, by the way, been deceased for quite some time, and some of them decades now, but because of silicone mask wearing and other what have you technological advances there are, you got to be mindful of the stories you come across, because a lot of these stories, especially, oh my gosh, those that we come across down the rabbit hole over and over again, yeah, about, the Gates and all of that. You got to remember something. He passed away years ago, decades ago. And so they're trying to pass him off as still being alive. Y'all got to do your research. There's a lot of these so-called gurus and CEOs of certain things who have been long gone. Okay, but it's all part of the dog and pony show on the world stage to try and make it seem as though they're still alive and that they're engaging in all of this crazy behavior. They want you to think that they're doing all this stuff to listen. We do know that they are putting things in our water. We do know that they do a lot of stuff to tamper with things, but in large part, they like to oversalt our foods, put too much salt in food, and that's really the gist of it right there. Among other things, don't get me wrong, read the label. Like I said, if I pick something up and I read the label and there's like a bunch of stuff in that label and I can't even pronounce, it goes back on the shelf. I'm not gonna no. And again, we're real big on making sure we do not consume corn syrup, at least not on purpose. Okay, where we can read the label, that's what we do. We stay away from it. Right, we don't do it on. We don't consume it on purpose. Okay, we do the best we can to avoid that, and then again manage our salt intake as all part of the awareness. But life did not end because of the awareness. No, we just become more aware of what we're doing to ourselves. Remember, when the devil can't get to you, he sends a narcissist. If that doesn't work, he wants you to do it to yourself. He's all about that self-sabotage now, let me tell you. Oh, yeah, the devil, he loves that self-sabotaging behavior. Oh, he don't like it when we figure it out and go, wait a minute, what are we doing to ourselves? Hold on a second. How am I contributing to that? Oh. And so we learn to knock it off. That's part of repentance, by the way. Yeah, being not deceived over and over again. And then we learn to hold ourselves accountable. Oh, I did that to myself. My bad. Not going to do it again. All part of that repentance. Very important. Part of that awareness. And so it changes our life for the better. The more aware of these narcissists and how they operate, how the world stage and its game of narcissism is played out on a daily basis, and it's nothing new under the sun. And how we're going to use what the devil dishes out for God's glory. Remember that. God always uses what the devil dishes out for his glory. He flips it. Yeah, God flips it. You got to remember that. All right? I want y'all to drop that in the comments below. Say, God flipped it. That's right. Say, God flipped it. Because that's what he does. Takes what the devil dishes out and flips it for his glory. And the other thing about heightened awareness is we become better problem solvers. Woo! That's my chosen one. That's a big part of how our lives change for the better because of heightened awareness. We become better problem solvers. For example, I noticed that I was having somewhat of an issue. I have, it's a studio apartment, right? Small space living. So I had to get one of those, those closets that are on wheels, right? That can fit in small spaces, right? It rolls. Well, the one that I've got it's got two racks, but there were some things on there that's getting too cluttered. And I'm like, I don't have that much, but it's the type of material and things like that I have to keep in mind, moisture-wise, right? So I was like, okay, how are we going to remedy this? Because I noticed that there were some things, and I was like, well, I'm going to do some laundry. I said, well, go ahead and wash the winter stuff anyhow. It doesn't hurt to do that. And I said, all right, so we're going to do that. But I said, well, how am I going to get this spaced out a little bit? How am I going to remedy that so that it doesn't continue to be an ongoing, potential issue? You know what I'm saying? We are all about preventing, right? Preventive measures. How can we prevent this from becoming an issue? Because it could. So I'm like, okay, well, guess what? We got a vision. Chosen one. Yes, heightened awareness. Heightened discernment. There you go. Exactly. Thank you, Chris. That's a great one. We definitely do. We get heightened discernment. It gets sharper and sharper with the heightened awareness. That's another positive. Okay? Oh, gosh, that's another great positive change in our lives because of heightened awareness. But becoming better problem solvers. So I was like, okay, with that. Well, I went to the store, and in my vision, I said, okay, I measured it out. And I said, I have this much room, right? If I have a tape measure, it's right there, easy to grab, okay, on that little dresser over there. And I said, always on hand just in case for moments like this. And so I measured out. I said, all right, I have X amount of feet to work with. And I was like, all right. And so then I got a vision on my way to the store. I said, wait a minute. Because at first I thought I would go and just get something all new for that. And the Lord's like, no, because there's nothing wrong with that rack. How about we find something that can help us space that stuff out? Doesn't mean we're going to go buy more clothes and bunch everything. No, because we don't. We have plenty of clothes to get us through many seasons. It's just a matter of getting things spread out a little bit more for air circulation and to be better organized. I said that could be a potential issue. So we're going to solve that. And I said, okay, I'm just looking for a one rack thing because I can put table and stuff underneath, right? So we're working on that. We are solving a potential issue. I don't want to say problem, but it could be. And so we're like, okay, taking that preventive measures, problem solving ahead of time before it becomes a problem. That's how you become better problem solvers. You can foresee the issue, could be an issue. We don't want it to be an issue that could end up, costing twice as much or who knows what down the road. So we're like, the chosen ones, we know how to do that. So there you go. Let me give you that other example just to help y'all stay motivated and know that it is good to have heightened awareness because of all the things that come with it that is good. So being able to read people. I don't know if you want to say, I don't want to say we don't really read people, but I know where you're coming from. We can actually it's discernment. We can tell by their demeanor basically where they're at emotionally. We can. It's so you're pretty much reading their emotion, okay? If they're slumped over and they're looking down, you can tell they're sad. You're reading their emotion. Because we're not really reading the person. You know what I'm saying? Remember, narcissists don't read us either. They're reading emotion. That's what they're looking for. So we do the same. It's just that we don't feed on it like they do. That's the difference. We don't feed on it. We just take note of it. And then if we sense that they are a genuine heart, then we might offer some assistance or, hey, do you need an ear to listen? You want to get that off of your, you want to get that off your mind, want to get that off of your, get that burden out. We don't have to take it or bear it ourselves, but let them talk. Sometimes it helps just to let them get it out. And if they ask us for a solution, we may offer them something. Okay? So, there you go. You can read their intention. Yeah, that's a better way to put it. The intentions of a narcissist. They're never good. Right? If you spot the narcissist and you can read their intentions, you can pretty much tell that it ain't good. Especially if they try to come at you with a bunch of stuff all at once, trying to overwhelm you. That ain't good. That's not coming from God. Right? If they are a sincere and genuine heart and will take the time to check in on them, check with them and see if there's anything that we could maybe help them with. And so, and by being able to tell which side they're on. Are they on Team Godhead or are they on Team Devil, right? If they're a narcissist, then they're on Team Devil. So there's no further analysis needed there, right? Okay, so glory be to God. But that heightened awareness, y'all, changes our lives. We become more aware of ourselves, what we're doing to ourselves. Are we self-sabotaging or are we taking better care of this temple for the Holy Spirit? What are we engaging in? What are we allowing ourselves to consume? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we allowing ourselves to be exposed to, right? What are we consuming social media wise? We learn to be more careful about that too, because there's a lot of subliminal messaging that goes on. And we have to be very, very, very mindful of that, because subliminal messaging over the years is what led to all of this purging of the subconscious in the first place, because God awakened us, We have a lot of stuff to overcome and a lot of things to purge from this subconscious, including what we talked about earlier, that trying to tell us that we got something wrong with ourselves. Oh, God says there ain't nothing wrong with you. That's what the world wants you to think, but we ain't of this world, chosen one. And then, yeah, that heightened awareness helps us to stop wearing our hearts on our sleeve. There you go. You hear me say that a lot because that's our empathy right there. We learn to get control of our empathy and we stop walking around out there with our hearts on our sleeve. And I'm going to tell y'all, they can tell, oh, yeah, because they don't approach us as much as they once did. Now, mind you, if you're in a workplace or you're around some that are going to continue to try, what I'm talking about is when you're not there, okay? When you're going about your normal business, right? You go to the grocery store, for example. You don't have your heart on your sleeve anymore, right? You're not wearing your empathy on it ain't wide open no more. They can tell. And they're like, not gonna mess with that one. Yeah. But then you do get some of the younger ones who will try out of nowhere. There they are trying to get in your space. And I'm just like, nice try. Because they're trying to get an emotional read on you. Once they can't get it, they scatter real quick. I was like, yeah, that was obvious. But they can't, right? They're not able to get an emotional read. So do I still get love bombing from dudes? Well, now, flirting? I get the occasional horn honked when I'm on my walks. But as far as love bombing or flirting from any dudes, not like I used to. And I don't mind. I'm good. Yeah, not like I used to. Again, because I don't respond. Even when even when one honks at me when I'm on my walks, I don't pay it no attention. Nope. I don't pay it no attention. And then one time there was a couple of them on a balcony at one of the hotels on down. I was on my walk, and they started hollering and making those weird noises. I didn't even, because I saw them on my way with my sunglasses on. I saw them standing there, but I kept going straight. And as soon as I go by, they start their little hollering stuff. I just kept walking. I don't pay it no mind. I don't pay it no mind because I don't care. I don't care. They're not going to get my attention. That's the point. So, yeah, and that's all part of that heightened awareness. So you know what's going on. You can see what's coming before you even get there. It's like you should know. Well, the way that their demeanor. I read their intentions, you see. All right, everybody? So there you go. And continue for those who catch this on the replay. And even if you were through the live and you think of some more ways that heightened awareness has helped you improve your life, let's put that in the comments on the replay. That's right. Iron sharpens iron. All right, everybody? So keep on keeping on. And don't let the devil trick you into thinking that there's something wrong with you. Don't let the devil trick you into thinking that, that your RF symptom is something that, no, don't blame it on food. Okay, again, it's real simple. Portion, how much salt did you take in, right? Along with how much did you consume, okay? And just that, right, an assessment, okay? A full-on assessment. And then do not tell yourself, okay, that you got something wrong with you because you don't. And then there's measures that you can take to mitigate that, okay? You want to always make sure if you are feeling a little bit acidic, you need some alkalinity there. Again, leafy green, purple grapes, prune juice, okay? Even broccoli, raw broccoli even. Okay, green beans, that kind of stuff. You want some alkalinity in there. You can do the research. Figs, just figs are a great one. Gosh, the list goes on, but you get my point, okay? Do the research. And because if it's too uncomfortable, you can balance it out with a little bit of alkalinity. All right, there you go. And it don't take much. And then focus on something else and breathe and relax. Tell yourself everything's okay. The body will process that. And before you know it, it'll be gone. That discomfort will go away. All right. So you better, yeah, you got to balance the acidity with alkalinity. There you go. Bingo, right there. All right, everybody. So, yeah, you are welcome. And I want y'all to continue having a great day, night, morning, wherever it is you are when you catch this. All right. So, sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your continued support. Till next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father. And you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.